Hi, beloved. Welcome back to Beloved Life Today. I have a tough question for us today. Who is the God that we actually worship? Not just the Sunday God where the music is good, the coffee is hot, and maybe we just are ready to praise Jesus with our whole heart. But what about on Monday morning? What about when you get to work and your inbox is full? Maybe your toddler is melting down. Maybe your screen time is pushing 6 hours in that day. Is it still the God that you served on Sunday, or is it another God? Stick around because today we're going to talk about that very question that I've had to deal with in my own life. Is the God that I'm serving on Sunday, the God that I praise and worship on a Sunday in worship service in a church, is that the same God that I'm worshiping on Monday? Or is it the God of social media? Is it the God of work? Is it the God of our culture? Is it the God of name your idol? The thing about what this life today is that it's so easy to be distracted by other things. It's so easy to be distracted by social media and TV and the latest show and maybe the latest TikTok video. But I wonder, I wonder what it would be like if we were to take the God that we claim to worship on Sunday, the God that we read about in the Bible, if we were to take that into our everyday life, into our work, into our culture, into the place where we are every day, and even into our families. How would that transform us? And how would that transform not only the way that we live, but transform the people around us just by the love, the compassion, and the care that we have for each one of them? So stay tuned, grab your coffee, grab your Bible, and let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back to Beloved Life Today. My name is Sherry and I'm a Bible teacher, a curriculum developer, and an art director, and I love to help people to go deeper in their faith and to develop a deeper life of faith and a more passionate faith life. And it's something that I've struggled with throughout my years, so part of what I speak about in these videos is really just my own experience, the own wrestling and the questions and the curiosity that I've had in my own life and in my own faith that I'm hoping to bring out into a conversation that we can have in everyday life and with ourselves to really look into what our life of faith looks like and how can we live that out in our everyday. I've been reading a book recently by a missiologist named Hirsch, and he wrote something that I just haven't been able to get out of my mind. Isn't it interesting that most churchgoers report a radical disconnect between the God who rules Sunday and the gods that rule Monday? And I'd like to add that it's not just the gods that rule Monday, but what about the gods that rule Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday? I mean, I've seen it in my own life and in the ministry and the people that I work with and I serve. It's this thing about how we come to church on Sunday. We have a wonderful worship service. We're passionate about our faith. We maybe go to brunch with friends afterwards and continue that conversation. But then where does that go on Monday? Where does that passion go? Isn't Sunday where we're supposed to come together as a group of believers, as Christians, come together to worship God, connect with one another, and to fuel up, essentially, to continue to refuel one another for the week ahead, to continue to keep each other accountable and encourage and empower one another to go into the world, to go into our workplaces, to go into our communities and continue to care for one another, love our neighbors, and have conversations that matter and that change lives. Like, what does that look like in your life? I know for me in my life, it's looked different in different seasons. There have been seasons where I've been passionate about my faith and I took what I learned on Sunday, what I talked about with my friends, into my Monday through Saturday. And then there's other seasons that just simply got way too busy. And in those seasons, I didn't take God into the rest of the week. I just went about the emotions and did what I needed to do. And I guess the only time that I would probably bring God back into my life during the week would be during a time when we would have a small group. Maybe it was a time when I was praying with a friend or for a friend. I wonder if we are often so knee deep in our problems that we forget to invite God in the places that we are in every day. I've seen this happen so many times in my years working in a church as well as in my own life that, I just, I'm so pumped up on Sunday, but then often when I get to Monday, the world continues to come back into my life. The worries, the concerns, the fears, all of the things, the troubles, the stresses, the pressures. It's like almost for a moment I can release them, but then Monday morning comes again and those pressures continue to come upon me. And I don't know about you, but it's easy to say, "Oh, I love Jesus." And especially on Sunday when we're in that kind of atmosphere. And then on Monday, live like success, productivity, money, social media, work, the pressures of everyday life, and even our family, those begin to rule our days rather than allowing God to guide us through our days, allowing God to guide us through our mornings, afternoons, our evenings, and throughout the rest of the week. We've got God for our job, a God for our family, a God for our money, one for social media appearance, one where we bring to the soccer field, to meetings, to the gym, and even one for our politics, celebrities, influencers, and more. How can we live more like the church that I read about in Acts 2? The church that fellowship together, didn't just put a pretty picture of something that they did on social media, didn't just live for the moment, for the likes, for the hearts, for the whatever you want to call it. How about we live for one another? How about we live where God is the guide of our communities, our families, our lives, and our everyday? Not the social media rule, not allowing the work rule our lives. Yes, we need to go to work, but how can we take God into our work? How can we take God into our families? How can we bring God into our social media? How can we bring God into our what we listen to, what we watch, how we act and interact? I mean, I used to live in Los Angeles, and I know traffic can bring out the best and the worst in people. And I will say that I have seen every kind of emotion sitting in traffic. But how do we bring God even into that? How do we bring God into the moments when we may be frustrated with the person in front of us? How do we bring God into our everyday moments? And part of what I've realized is I have to take God everywhere with me, not just put God in the passenger seat or allow him to be in the back seat of my car, but I need to allow him to drive the car of my life. I need to allow him to guide every day and every moment, every question, every conversation, every prayer, and every answer. And even though life and the pressures and the struggles and the challenges of life will come upon us, we need to allow God to rule the day, to be a part of our everyday, and to take time to even sit still for a moment so that we can discern what is that best next step. And so today, we're going to take a pulse check. We're going to take a little bit of like a pulse check and see what are these gods that we serve, the gods that we put before us in our lives that we may take into our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the gods that we may allow to distract us, to overwhelm us, to bring us into a place of anxiety, and to pull us away from the one true God, the God that we read about in the Bible. These gods, while they're not harmful in itself, and if we put them in the rightful place, they can actually be good. But they can rule our lives if we allow them to be in an overwhelming place in our lives. They promise fulfillment, but they often leave us exhausted and divided, spiritually dry, and somewhere where God did not want us to be. So, who is your functional God? Not just the God that you claim to follow, not just the God that you praise on Sunday, not the God you read in the Bible, but the one where your schedule revolves around. In my life, it revolved around my health, my work, my serving in the church. It revolved around all these different things. Where is the one that your thoughts drift to most often? Where is the one that your priorities consistently serve? It's easy to profess a belief in God with our lips, but then what do our calendars look like? What does our bank account look like? What do our daily choices reveal about the God that we serve on Monday through Saturday? Not just the one on Sunday. I mean, real speaking here, like let's go real talk here. If we lift our hands in worship on Sunday, but we live like God is irrelevant on Monday through Saturday, Are we truly following Jesus, or are we just giving him a polite nod while we're running our own show? Here's the truth that we all need to wrestle with. God doesn't want just weekend visits. He doesn't want us just praising him on Sunday and then forgetting about him on Monday. He's not looking for a supporting role in your life. He's not looking to be in the passenger seat or in the back seat of your car. He's the author, the center of your life, the king. Not because he's insecure, but because he knows that even every lesser God will eventually let you down. But he never will. In Exodus 23, God says, "You shall have no other gods before me." It's so easy in our lives to put these other mini gods before ourselves, to distract ourselves, to busy our lives with them. And this statement wasn't just about ancient idols or golden calves like we read about. It's about anything, even good things that can begin to claim our ultimate allegiance in our heart and take over the rightful place that God has in our lives. He doesn't ask for your devotion out of duty, but out of love, and this deep love he has for you and for all of his creation. A love that says, I am the only one who can satisfy your soul. I am the only one who will never leave you. Come to me, says God. So let's take an inventory. Who or what is sitting on the throne of your heart? What does your schedule revolve around? And are you willing to let God take his rightful place in your life? So what do we do with all of this, though? What do we do with what we've just discussed today? Well, the first thing is we pause. We silence the noise around us, the distractions that we have in our lives. We reflect to see what is really shaping us, what is really having hold on our schedules, our lives, and our priorities. We repent, not out of guilt, but out of a longing to be close to God again. And we allow God to realign ourselves. So we realign ourselves to what God's plan is and to have God in our lives Monday through Sunday. Because our hearts so easily drift, we need to allow God to graciously bring us back on this path. So start by making it a daily posture, by asking yourself honestly, God, am I putting anything ahead of you today? The goal isn't shame, but it's to bring clarity. What is subtly stealing the affection that belongs to him alone? Does my calendar reflect God's priorities in my life? Or are the rhythms of my week built around the intimacy that I desire to have with God? Or is it squeezing God out of our lives and into the leftover margins? Are my words and attitudes shaped by God or by culture or the other things that I put in front of my life? Whether it's how you speak to your kids, interact with people at work, or post online, are you reflecting Jesus in your reacting? Then we need to make a conscious choice. We need to recenter our lives, and we need to invite God into the mundane moments, the washing the dishes, doing the laundry moments. Let his presence fill your commute, your meetings, your time with your friends, your phone calls, your meals, your scrolling, your social media, and all of your conversations. Because true worship isn't just lifting your hands on Sunday. True worship is when you're in the grocery store on Monday and you see someone in need, do you care for them? It's offering God your attention when you're in your commute on your way to work, but you're in traffic. It's offering God your attention moment by moment, not in the special moments of one day a week. This is where transformation happens, not in performance, but in presence, not in striving, but in daily surrender. So here's the challenge I have for you. This week, let's pay attention to what you run to when you're stressed, you're tired, bored, anxious, or afraid. That's usually what we go to when we worship. It's things that we can cope with when we worship throughout the week. Then take one intentional step to invite God into that space. Invite him into your inbox, your commute, your parenting, your conversations, and even into when you're at the grocery store. I pray that this week we'll be opening our eyes to what is around us. But I want you to remember most of all that you are made to worship. You are made to worship God each and every day. And we are also just reminded that we are the beloved. That you can go share the life of the beloved with everyone. That you can teach everyone that you don't have to be perfect to live this beloved life today. This beloved life that God has given us to share about him, to share his light with the world. That we can do that in every moment. So let's radiate God's love everywhere. we go. Until next time, my friends, stay blessed and be loved.